Good morning, bows and bow ties. It's a little bit later start than I normally would. It's about 6:34 a.m. But yeah, so I just wanted to chit chat. This is not well formed at all. Just thinking about a little bit. I saw some of the Amanda Seales interview on Club Shay Shay, and let me just say this. I'm like, I think Amanda Seales overall. So I've always liked Amanda Seales because she says what she means. It means what she say, right? Sometimes I think the way it's wrapped up, the way it's dressed up, it doesn't go over well, and I think we all have to work on our bedside manner. But I enjoy how smart she is. I think she's a thinking person. Um, but see, with that, what comes along with that is I think oftentimes you could be misunderstood if you're a thinking person and the way that you deliver anything that you're saying. She kind of got, what's his face together though? A lot of people, I think people are going to be on both sides, either sides to this, but I do think she was right. And when she was saying what she experienced as a child, and she felt like it was rooted in one of those isms, and you know what I mean. Um, I think that oftentimes when people try to discount what kids say, I'm like, wait a second. Kids are kids learn behaviors. They're taught things, right? And if they don't learn it at home, they're learning it from other kids. And so just to say like, oh, kids are being kids, I forget exactly what he said because I remember listening to that. I'm like, yeah, but kids are taught things. So she got him together when she brought up the whole Ruby Bridges incident back when they were trying to integrate schools. So anyway, I just felt like Shannon Sharp took an L for that one. I was like, dude, like, what are you doing right now? It was giving me Emmanuel Acho vibes, which is funny because she bombed out Emmanuel Acho too. I was I was cracking up because I'm like, Emmanuel Acho deserved it. I mean, because I just feel like he's like the modern day step and fetch. Like I'm just kind of like, what is happening here? But anyway, I'm not saying that Shannon Sharp is giving step and fetch. I'm saying that Emmanuel Acho. Um, but anyway, I just thought that she was just talking about some things that and I was here for it. All the stuff with Issa Rae, this is the thing. Like, okay, I must admit, I was never an Insecure fan. I liked some of the episodes, but I, I'm, I remember I said this a long time ago to, I guess we're still friends. A friend of mine, I said, I understand that we're trying to have representation. And I felt like, on the one hand, she was showing how Black women, like their dating woes, and I get it, but I just kind of felt like it was just another sad love song, like that Tony Braxton. It's just another sad love song, you know, because when I at least when I first started watching some of the Insecure episodes, I was like a year or so late, and it just gave me this whole like, let's paint the downtrodden brown woman in this light of always struggling to find love. And I was like, I guess art imitates reality, but in the same token, I don't know. I just didn't like it. It was just like all about men, 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 and she was like calling everybody N bombs, and I don't know. So circling back to the Issa thing, you know, do I think, in my personal opinion, based off no facts, I want to make this clear, I have no facts. Do I think Issa was messy too? I absolutely do think she was messy. I think this was a business too. It's competition. I said what I said. I think there was some messiness involved. There could have been, I'm not saying Issa was jealous, but what I'm saying is there could have been jealousy. It could have been anything. Like when she said that she had her show and it was uploaded on her site or whatever it was, maybe Issa very well could have seen like the value in it and didn't want her shine to eclipse what Issa had. I don't know. I don't know. Instead of looking at it from the financial and business aspect, there's human nature that's involved. Now, I actually like Issa Rae. I just wasn't really big into Insecure. I didn't like how women were put into these stereotypical roles. They had, or at least black women, they had Amanda Seales as like this ditzy, light skinned woman who was just, I don't know, she was so fragile, and I don't know, it just didn't, it wasn't resonating with me. I didn't like how they had the the big black girl having to try to like be the comedian and over sexualized. I didn't like it. I didn't like it, but I'm getting off topic. The point I'm making was Amanda Seales got on that show, Club Shay Shay, and she started talking, and I was like, okay, so this is Amanda, because when she started getting rowdy about it, I'm like, be who you are, talk your talk. That is your space to be rowdy and about it. So I think that she needed to be who she was in that moment, right? Not to say that she's always like that. I'm sure she has a much softer side too. But, I think she was excited about what she was talking about. She was calling a thing a thing. I think she was very hurt about being kicked out of that Emmy party, the Emmys in Hollywood or whatever it was called. I don't even remember. I don't care because I don't really care for Hollywood. But you know, I think the thing is like she probably was done dirty. But I mean, all of Hollywood is dirty if you ask me. I think Holly Weird is a place that I want no parts in. It's just weird. But anyway, Amanda Seales was out there talking and ruffling feathers. Smart woman. I think her outfit was a lot, though. Now, I don't usually critique outfits, but I think it was just because there was so much going on, and I don't know, it was the way it blended into the set. I don't know what it was. It was just a lot going on with her outfit, but overall, you know, I think she did a good job. I'm not saying that I agree with everything or don't or disagree with everything. I was just more of a passive listener. I agree with a lot of the things that she says. I most certainly do. But I think the funniest part for me was when she was like, my mother is not white. And it's so funny because when I see Amanda, like, I look at her as like a light skinned black woman, right? Who's probably got something going on in her family, but I never thought of her as anything other than a black woman. And the reason why that resonated with me so much is because I used to get crap like that all the time, especially if I had my don't do a great job. So I just slap it up now, let my hair be what it's going to be. And I have a much more kinkier texture hair than Amanda's all, but I just thought it was so funny. But I would get that all the time. People would come up to me and say the wildest things, and I would look at them quizzically, like, where does this come from? Like, I guess maybe because I always grew up like never questioning anything. Like we didn't, my family was, I don't know. I mean, my mom was black, my dad is black. So it was one of those things where I was like, what? I used to get, even recently, I remember even down to Asians thinking I was some sort of biracial or something. I'm like, y'all have been around black people. That was as a matter of 2 or 3 years ago. Somebody said, oh, I thought you were mixed with something. And I'm like, you're around black people. You know this is becoming in all colors, shapes, and sizes. So anyway, I was just tickled pink by that when she's like, my mom is a whole black woman from Grenada. And my dad is black. I was like, yes, talk your talk. I don't know why that was funny because most people who are around black people, they get it, so you just, I don't know. I guess to me, I just never understood why people were making a whole bunch of assumptions. I mean, but she very could have been biracial. I don't know. But when I first saw her, I never thought differently. I thought this is a very light skinned black woman who clearly has something going on in her family, um, DNA. But anyway, I just thought that was funny only because I have had to, you know, get people together on that too all the time, especially when they would say things like, "Oh, are you like Puerto Rican or Dominican?" I'm like, "Well, those are nationalities. There's white Puerto Ricans and white Dominicans and black Puerto Ricans and black Dominicans. That's a nationality. That's not a race. That's not a." They're like, "Yo, so you're mixed with Puerto Rican?" They would still say it. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, what is happening right now?" No, I'm like regular, regular. Anyway, I found that little tidbit to be hilarious. I don't know why it was that funny to me, but that resonated with me for some reason. But ultimately, I think the biggest thing was she said what she had to say. You know, it doesn't matter. I think if you're just predisposed to just not liking her for whatever reasons, you're gonna find fault with everything she has to say. It just is what it is. It's kind of like with anybody else. You know, you're gonna find a lot of things that you just don't like about her. It's kind of like Beyonce. I found that in recent times, she turns me off for a variety of reasons. Like, I don't deny her talent. Pretty woman, she's a talented lady. But there's some things that I see that I'm like, okay, you know. And so what happens is sometimes you can develop a blind spot. I'm human like everybody else. So now I just don't even really deal with it. Like, I don't even care about Beyonce. Like, I don't half of her music I don't even listen to because I think it's so stupid. It's silly. So I just let people be where they are. And so what happens is when people start to irk you and rub you the wrong way, you really don't want to hear it. And I think that's what you're going to get with Amanda Seales. People are just not going to want to hear what she has to say about whether it was her time at the Emmy party, her experience on Insecure, okay, and how she may not have necessarily felt like she could really, you know, um, truly advocate for herself. Now she doesn't use those words. I don't remember her using those words, but you know, because technically he says her boss. Um, you know, whether it's about her experience growing up, or you know, it could be anything. So I saw a good portion of the interview. I didn't see the entire interview because I do have a life, by the way. Maybe I'll catch the rest of it. Or maybe I'll play it from the beginning and listen to the whole thing without, I try not to have too many interruptions. But ultimately, Amanda Seals was up there talking. She was just talking her talk, and I'm sure people are going to be in an uproar over things. Um, Shannon Sharp took an L on that whole like, so your mom is white, and I was like, what? And I didn't even know that much about her parents. I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, no, she's not. Why do you keep saying that? So I don't know. Funny to me. And then him discounting the whole thing as a child, you know, when she was doing stuff on Nickelodeon or whatever. I was like, Shannon, just stop. Just listen. You know, it reminds me of, you know, well, it's not the same thing. I'm getting ready to make this about myself because I'm driving. But I was just sitting there thinking about how oftentimes people will say, oh, well, someone didn't mean it that way, but this is the way I took it. I remember when I was in high school, um, I, you know, okay, so when I was growing up, the school system I lived in, you would take Spanish in sixth grade for half a year and French for half a year. And then in seventh grade, you choose which language you want to take, etc. So I took Spanish in seventh grade, Spanish in eighth grade, and then by the time I got to ninth grade, so then you go into was it Spanish two or whatever it was. So when I was in high school, I had completed Spanish four, um, and then I was like, oh, I'll take some extra electives with languages and stuff, right? And so I signed up for Italian. Now, what the teacher didn't know was I had cousins who were Italian and American. So they spoke fluent Italian because they lived in Italy for years. Even though they were born in America, they moved over to Italy for years and they came back. So Italian was almost like a first language, not a second language, believe it or not. So um, I signed up for Italian because I had completed all my Spanish. I didn't want to take AP Spanish. And I took Spanish from Spanish. I mean, I'm sorry, Italian with Italian too. Now, when I was in class, the teacher was getting upset with me because I started later, like a junior, senior, something. I forgot what it was. I was like, I'm just going to take these electives. The teacher would get angry with me because she felt like I wasn't studying. Well, for those of you who know, Italian is one of the Romance languages, and it's similar to Spanish, not exact. But because I had cousins around me, that, because they had moved back to the States at the time, so we were all living together, at my grandmother's house, by the way. And so they would speak Italian all the time. And so I would go to class. I never really studied because it was there was nothing to study. That was for me. It was just it was easy. And I remember the teacher came up to me. I finished my test within it was like a quiz or a test, and I think it might have been like less than 10 minutes. It was very easy. The teacher, I turned my paper over, and the teacher came over and snatched my paper. Do your work. I was like, excuse me? Next thing you know, we're going at it. She was like, you need to finish your test. I don't know who you think you are. Now she starts coming at me crazy. And I was like, a little bit on the mouthy side. And I'm like, don't tell me what to do. I did finish my test and some other stuff. And she was like, there's no way you could have finished. I'm like, what does that mean? And she was like, you need to study, you need to finish your test, whatever. She's like, fine, you're going to fail. I was like, I'm not going to fail. This was an easy A. Now, I shouldn't have said that. But the way she was coming up, well, there's no way you could have. And she kept saying that. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And then, of course, my mouth is up. I'm like, you don't know what I know. You don't know what I know. She was like, I know that I know that I'm going to grade this as is. And I was like, grade it. You can grade it right now. And I wound up getting like it's either 100 or 98. I can't remember, but she was pissed. But you don't. So next thing you know, somehow we got into some little verbal discussion that was not pleasant, and then I got sent to the office, and she made a comment about like I think I know so much or something like that. But I was just kind of like, well, I do. Your tests are easy, and not knowing how to read a room, I should just shut up. But the point I was making with that whole thing, the seals, is she kept saying, well, there's no way you could possibly, because that neither in you. And I don't think you know what. I'm sitting there thinking, like, lady, you don't know anything. And it comes, and she finds out, of course, the whole situation. Like, I'm like, I've got cousins who speak full Italian. And even if they did, it doesn't matter. If I tell you I'm done with this test, I'm done. I mean, I got an A. I mean, but the point I'm making was it wasn't that hard. But she kept saying, there's no way you could. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Because I was outperforming the kids in the class. So I took it personal. I was like, you know what? Are you saying there's no way I can do it? For what reason? Why are you saying that? I don't know. Not exactly the same, but I made it about me. Me, me, me. All right. There's more I can say. I didn't want to deep dive on Amanda Seals. I think that many people will dissect that interview today, and they will judge accordingly to how they're feeling. Ultimately, the parts that I heard a good portion of it. I found it to be entertaining. I don't know if I'll listen to sleepover. I mean, Amanda Seals is either like her or you don't. So, but all right, I'm done. Have a good one.